Freeman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
8:07 on the Morning Majority, and we are lucky to have Byron York of the Washington Examiner with us this morning. How's it going, Byron?
Good morning, guys. Doing great.
So let me ask you, the whole race up until now in the GOP primary has been about, for many people, finding a non-Romney. I want to ask you, do you think Newt Gingrich is that guy finally? Will he stay at the top of the heap? And two, do you think Team Romney had a plan for dealing with a rise of Newt Gingrich? Or are they still working something out?
Just got back from going to some events in South Carolina with Gingrich, in Newberry, South Carolina, and Greenville, South Carolina, where he got extremely enthusiastic receptions at Tommy's Country Ham House yesterday. The crowd was out the door. It was just packed. And I have to say, I came away from that trip for the first time with a feeling that Mitt Romney could be in serious, serious trouble here. He's clearly in trouble in South Carolina. Gingrich is doing quite well in Iowa. And we have seen the successive rise of candidates. We saw Bachmann, we saw Perry, we saw Cain. And if you think about it, each of them declined for pretty much the same reason, which were voters' doubts about their preparation, the depth of their knowledge to be president. That's not going to happen to Gingrich. If he falls, it'll have to be for some different reason. And we have reports that the Romney campaign is preparing some big attack on Gingrich. That's going to be Gingrich's main challenge in the next couple of weeks, because I cannot tell you how many Republicans tell me, we love Newt because he's not bickering with the other candidates. He hadn't gotten in fights with the other candidates. Well, now he's the front runner, and they're going to be attacking him left and right. How he reacts, whether it's kind of old, angry Newt or new, happy Newt, is going to be really important.
What about when it comes to ground campaign and money? I mean, that's always been the way to win a primary, and it was always known that Newt Gingrich didn't have a lot of money, and they weren't sure about the ground campaign. How is that shaping up, or does it even matter this time around?
Well, there's talk that it doesn't matter, but I'll tell you, it is shaping up on Gingrich's part. I mean, they've hired a lot of people. I think they have 10 people on the staff in South Carolina, which is pretty big for a campaign. And they're hiring in New Hampshire, and they're hiring in Iowa. So they are actually doing the traditional stuff of hiring people and getting around. The interesting thing here is Romney. What exactly is he doing? He's clearly making an effort now in Iowa, where he tried to kind of stay away or stay below the radar for a while. Gingrich is rising in the polls in New Hampshire, which has been presumed to be a bedrock Romney territory. So I think you're going to have to see the Romney campaign spend money, which it hasn't done up until now, and get going and start pushing pretty hard in these places, because Gingrich cannot be counted on to fall for the same reasons that Bachmann, Perry, and Cain did. So they're going to have to make that happen.
All right. Byron, yesterday on this program, we interviewed Congressman Allen West, a black conservative Republican, and asked him about the Herman Cain situation. And his answer reverberated all over this country yesterday. I think it was played out on every major news organization, shows about the Cain situation. A lot of websites and newspapers picked it up. And he basically said it was time for Cain to move on, that he'd become a distractor. What is your sense about the future of the Cain campaign? I mean, I understand he hasn't really had a conversation with his wife yet, and that apparently is going to happen tomorrow.
I was going to bring that up. I mean, he has not seen his wife face-to-face since all this happened.
I can imagine why.
They've talked on the phone, but they are going to see each other on Friday. So clearly, there's not going to be any big decision until then. What happened here is that the allegations from Ginger White in Atlanta just kind of broke through in a way that the other ones had not. Now, you could argue, I think, that Herman Cain has been kind of unfairly treated here, regardless of whether he's guilty or not, in the sense that you had a story in which unnamed accusers made unspecified allegations. Cain was forced to defend himself against unnamed accusers with unspecified allegations in the hopes that it might shake something out. Well, something did come out, and you have a woman, you have her face, you have her story, you have her cell phone records. And I think everybody, or a lot of people who were giving Cain the benefit of the doubt up to that point, said that's it. So he's really struggling against that. Whether he decides to stay in to sort of keep the brand alive, or whether he decides this is it, I think is going to be based entirely on this conversation with his wife.
It sounds a little bit like she is the escape hatch. Like it seems like they're laying some sort of groundwork for saying, well, it may be the wife that puts the kibosh on this.
He
thing.
wanted to stay in, but his wife said
Right.
she'd had enough. Yeah.
Well, that's viewing it strategically, and that's true in a strategic sense. But think about this in a human sense. She has friends, she has a life. You can imagine the sort of expressions of sympathy or kind of funny looks she gets from people. This is the same with the children. This has done a lot of human damage. So Cain has to think, do I want to keep this going? Is there other stuff out there that will come out, if I stay in the race? This race has brought me a lot of attention, raised my profile immeasurably, but boy, what a cost. So I do think you have to think of this in human terms as well as strategic.
Newt Gingrich has been very kind to Herman Cain over the last couple of weeks on this particular issue. I'm wondering if that was a strategic move on his part to perhaps get the Cain supporters to go onto his side. Where do you see the Cain supporters, if he does drop out, go?
Yeah, well, that was strategic. And as a matter of fact, I think I even wrote this when they did that so-called Lincoln-Douglas debate down in Texas. It was just a love fest between Cain and Gingrich. Gingrich had not begun his rise at that point. Cain was pretty high at that point. And you think to yourself, Gingrich believes Cain is going to fall, maybe not for allegations reasons, but just for other reasons, but he's going to begin sliding in the polls. Those people are going to want to go somewhere, and Newt Gingrich is being really nice to Herman Cain. It made a lot of sense to treat him that way. I think Gingrich actually likes Cain. Gingrich, former Georgia representative, Cain from Atlanta. So they actually like each other, but it also made a lot of sense for Gingrich to be nice to Cain and to have Cain supporters see that.
I was just thinking when you were talking about the New Hampshire poll and then how Newt has just climbed, that was a foregone conclusion that Romney was going to win. If Gingrich wins in New Hampshire, is that a knockout punch this early?
It's as close to anything I could think of as a knockout punch. You have to think of what happens. Gingrich is leading in Iowa. He's leading in South Carolina, and he is approaching within the margin of error in New Hampshire. That is a kind of a nightmarish scenario for Romney.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that Romney was in Florida the other day. He taped that Brett Baer interview for Fox in Florida, where he was, because that could turn out to be a really, really big state for him.
Well, it's amazing how quickly things can change. Byron, as always, we appreciate you coming on the show.